Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about SEJ. So from previous discussions it is clear that okay, so whatever movement is there in the breathing length portion, it was accommodated near SEJ. So you see this diagram, this is LWR. Okay, so LWR has three parts: breathing length, non-breathing length and breathing length. Whatever movement is there in this, expansion or contraction is there in this portion, that was taken care by gap in the SEJ. Okay, so that we discussed in the previous classes. And also, as temperature increases, when temperature increases, breathing length portion will increase, right? Length of rail will increase. As a result, okay, gap comes down, gap decreases, and when temperature decreases, rail will contract. As a result, gap increases at SEJ. So these things we have discussed in detail in the previous classes. So continuation to those portions, to those lectures. Today we will discuss different types of SEJ and which one is best. Which one was presently adopted, and next one, what are the conditions we have to see while installation. So that also we are going to discuss today. Right. So coming to first concept, different types of SEJ. So basically you have two categories: conventional SEJ and improved SEJ. So you can see the pictures here. So you have, this is a conventional SEJ, and this is a, you can see here, this is a improved SEJ. So this is improved SEJ. Now question is, which one is best? So in order to understand which one is best, let us make some comparisons of its components. Okay, so here in conventional SEJ, rail was bent, so chances of fracture is there, but no rail was bent here. So you can see this diagram. So if you see this diagram, see, this is, this bent rail is called stock rail, and this rail is called tongue rail. So this rail was bent, so there was chances of fracture, right? But if you see a convinced improved SEJ, no rail was bent. Okay, like that. Next one, here you have a special rail called gap avoiding rail, and you also have check rail, but here no such gap avoiding rail, no such check rails available. So you can see this diagram. So this is called the outer rail, small rail, this was provided, is called gap avoiding rail. This helps when during excessive gaps. Okay, this is called gap avoiding rail, and this is a check rail. So this is a check rail. So these are safety features available with improved SEJ. But if you see conventional SEJ, you don't have any such, okay, gap avoiding rail or check rail. Okay, next, in improved SEJ you have only 5 sleepers, 5 special sleepers, but in conventional SEJ you have 6 special sleepers. And conventional SEJ was, can be fixed up to 0.5 degree, and this can be, improved SEJ can be fixed up to 2 degree. Okay, generally conventional SEJ was fixed in straight portion, but improved SEJ can be provided in straight and curved portions also, where you will have curved stock and tongue rail, right? And this conventional SEJ can handle up to 80 mm gap, but this can handle up to 180 mm gap, right? And one more important thing is rail free fastenings. Rail free fastenings, and it also has rail free fastenings. So what does that mean? We'll see. See, if you see this diagram, okay, you have, see, this is one plate, this is one plate, here also you have one more plate, this is one more plate. Okay, so, and here you have special plates like this, right? So none of the nut and bolt was fixed to the rail. Rail was allowed to move, expand or contract freely. So they all fastenings were attached to plates, okay, and sleeper, but none of them was attached to rail. No hole was made and connected to the rail, so rail was free. So that's why it was called rail free fastenings. So this is the basic idea of SEJ. Okay, so if you don't provide rail free fastenings, then it was not allowed to expand freely. Okay, and one more extra thing in improved SEJ is single gap and double gap. So if you see, so you have a LWR, let us say this is LWR and this is LWR2, LWR1, LWR2. Now you have to provide SEJ which is common to both LWRs. In such situation you will provide this double gap SEJ, right? We will discuss about this in other classes. So I hope this is clear. So now you can see this diagram. See, this is conventional SEJ and this is improved SEJ, and these are the sleepers. See, 5 sleepers, 1 2 3 4 5, and you can see here 6 sleepers. Okay, so from basic components it is clear that this is more safer. Improved SEJ is more safer compared to conventional SEJ. So nowadays we are focusing more on improved SEJ. We are using mostly improved SEJ. Okay, so this is a gap avoiding rail, and see, this is the fastenings, rail free fastenings. Okay, so high tensile bolts, this is the bolt attached to check rail, and these are the bolts fixed to the bearing plate, right? So these are the plates fixed outside. So see, screws attached to the sleeper, and these are the screws attached to the plate, and this is the plate which was holding this rail, and none of the bolts was attached to the tongue rail or stock rail, right? And here you have 6 special sleepers, as we are using thinner rails, right? Thinner rails, so we are using wide sleepers to take care of larger stresses, right? And in conventional you have 6, and in improved you have 5 sleepers, right? And we are speaking about gap avoiding rail, right? So it is the rail fixed to the stock rail which helps during excessive gap. Suppose you have a stock rail and tongue rail like this, and when gap is very heavy, when we'll want to go from this to this, if gap is heavy there is chances of derailment, right? So to overcome that you have this gap avoiding rail, right? Right. So up to here we are clear with gap basic components of SEJ, basic components of SEJ, and we also understood improved SEJ is better compared to conventional SEJ. Now let us understand, okay, how to install this improved SEJ at site. Okay, what are the basic things we have to consider? So for that, so during installation we have to see this thing: center line of sleeper number 10, tip of tongue rail, and bolt center should be in one line, right? What does this mean? So if you have seen this diagram, so this is the sleeper and this is the center line of sleeper, this is the center of the bolt, this white spark is called center of the bolt. Now if you draw a line, now tongue rail should touch this, tongue rail tip should touch this line. That's how okay, SEJ should be fixed. So center of sleeper, center of the bolt, we will draw one line. If you draw one line, tip of tongue rail should touch to this center line, and from here stock rail should be at a distance of 40 mm. So like that we will fix the, okay, SEJ. So this is point number 1, and coming to point number 2, okay, stock rail at 40 mm from center of, okay, our mean position. And this is how we have to fix when temperature is TD. Okay, at TD this is how the rail should be, stock rail and tongue rail should be. Okay, and one more thing you have to understand was, see, let us say this is LWR, this is LWR portion, so we'll fix such that tongue rail is this direction, okay, where, so tongue rail is here, tongue rail is here, and here stock rail, here you will have stock rail. Okay, so like that we'll fix our SEJ. Okay, so This is the mean position of SEJ. So you can see, so this is the bolt here, center of the bolt, center of the sleeper, like that. If you draw a line, this tongue rail tip should touch it. Okay, alright, you can see this. So now let us say in mean position, mean position we have installed LH SEJ and RH SEJ. Okay, in mean position we have installed like that. Alright, now once we installed, we have to do welding, right? So temporarily we will tie it with, okay, plates. So here you have 1 meter fish plate, here 1 meter fish plate, 1 meter fish plate, and we will temporarily fix it like this, right? Now during welding you have to do gap adjustment, right? So for that we have to understand this, right? So if you do welding at a TD, if temperature is TD, at that position your SEJ should be like this. Center line should match with the tip of tongue rail and stock rail should be at 40 mm. But if you do at a temperature greater than TD, let us say TD temperature is 40 and site temperature is 50. Now TD is less than this, right? So in such a situation, so when temperature is high, rail will expand. As a result, it will push the tongue rail from center towards stock rail. So this is center, see, stock rail has came inside, right? That's how your SEJ should be. It should not be in mean position, right? And when temperature is less than TD, when temperature is less than TD, suppose TD temperature is 40 but site temperature is 30, right? Site temperature is 30. In such situation, okay, rail will contract. As a result, it will push the tongue rail away from the mean position. So this is mean position and it has came out from the mean position. That's how it should be. And if your rail is like that, you can do welding. But okay, it may be like that or it may not be like that. So accordingly you have to adjust your tongue rail. So in first condition at TD you need not adjust your tongue rail, as your tongue rail was actually at mean position, right? But when T is greater than TD, you have to adjust your tongue rail so that it will come towards the stock rail, right? And when T is less than TD, you have to adjust your tongue rail such that it moves out of the mean position. Okay, now question is how much you have to adjust, 10 mm, 20 mm, 30 mm. That's what we have to understand. So that thing we'll discuss in next class. But today what we have understood, so among all SEJ discussed, improved SEJ is best and safe. Okay, that is one thing we have discussed. And during welding we have to adjust the gaps of tongue rail, right? So if you are doing welding at a TD, okay, you can simply fix to mean position. And if other temperature greater than TD or less than TD, under such conditions you have to move your tongue rail towards stock rail or away from the stock rail. Now question is how much you have to move, that we will discuss in next class. So that's all we have discussed. Okay friends, thank you for watching.